We are in chapter 3. We're in week 2, chapter 3. Just a really quick recap. Um, week 1 has ended. Week 1 has ended. Most of your grades are done. The only grades that I'm doing now is just going over all of your long-term goals. Some of you may have your grades back, but I want to make sure that with the long-term goals, that you have end dates on them, even if you didn't put an end date on your long-term goals this week, last week rather, make sure that when you do your career plan part 2, that you have end dates on it. Because if you don't have an end date on your goals, it's going to be very difficult for you to set short-term goals without those end dates. So I just wanted to reiterate that to you. Most of you, I'll be, probably saying that you did fine on your goals, but just make sure you put end dates for those that forgot those, right? All other grades are back. If you did not if you turned something in beyond like 9 o'clock last night, I'm still grading it. Or if you didn't turn it in, then your grade will be updated with the fact that you didn't turn it in. But so you can check for that a little bit later today. How's everyone doing with the setting up those appointments with career services? Is everything going okay with that? Issues? Going good? Okay, good. Remember that your signed resume is due back on this Thursday. So your signed resume is due back on this Thursday. So to remind you of that so that you can stay in touch with career services. So this week, guys, we're talking about branding because, when we introduced this idea of positioning ourselves, branding ourselves, we provide services. We don't provide products, right? We don't sell things. So the thing that we produce is a service. And so when you contract with a company, you're selling your service. And just like anything that you sell, you have to promote it. So you have to promote yourself. Yes, your resume is one way you do that. LinkedIn is another way that you do that, or any other platform that you're using. But also, when you go out and you introduce yourself to people and you're engaging with others, you're going to have to sell yourself, introduce yourself, present yourself, however you want to do it, however you want to, frame that out. And you need to figure out a way to do that. Like, what is your brand? What is your pitch? How are you going to go out? How are you going to even start that conversation? So chapter 3 is going to talk about how to do that, because at the end of the day, your brand is what? Who you are as a person, professionally, your reputation, combined into this one neat little statement or bow about, your aptitude and your skills and your abilities, right? Your hopefully even your personality and values shine through in the work that you do and how you present yourself. So you have to really think through, like, what is my brand going to be? You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to be in the electrical field. I mean, you can, but where is that going to get you? Now you're just really just winging it. And, most people don't build their careers by winging it. Like, you're really going to have to figure out what your brand is going to be, right? Things that typically contribute to a person's brand, obviously things that make you different, how unique you are as part of that, what type of way that you present yourself, your engagement. Here it talks about, being, authentic and things of that nature. Sure. All that is very, very important, especially if you want to have a positive brand. But, your former work, the type of work that you do, what do you want to be known for, right? You will have a brand, whether you like it or not, right? So you may as well try and create it yourself, because you don't want to get 10 years into your career and then your brand becomes whatever someone thinks about you. And, maybe you weren't intentional with your brand. So, because you neglected to try to craft your brand, maybe you become known for something. Let's being honest with yourself. Maybe you're the type of person that you've never really been an attention to detail type person. And so you've gone to work for a couple of companies And the one consistent issue that they've all had with you is that you don't pay attention to detail, that you're a broad thinker, but you don't pay attention to detail. Do you really want that to be your brand, right? Or conversely, maybe you are a great attention to detail person, but you haven't really thought it through in any type of strategic way. But every company you go to, one thing that they really love about you is your attention to detail, but you haven't really promoted yourself as such. And so any other quality that you want to present, maybe you don't want to just be known for someone that pays attention to detail. Maybe you're looking to start your own business and you want to be known for someone that can really solve complex issues. You worked on some really complex projects, but you haven't really positioned yourself that way. So the only thing you're known for is being somebody that pays attention to detail. What am I trying to say? If you do not be proactive about creating your personal brand, your history of experience will do that for you. So you may as well be proactive about it. When we talk about personal brand and creating this brand, and how do you even go out and start promoting yourself, when you meet someone, you got to first think about, okay, do I even have a statement somewhere? Do I have it written down somewhere? How do I even start? Well, most people start with using the summary on their resume. Remember that profile, that summary, qualifications, whatever, however you want to frame it, 1 to 3 sentences, depending upon how you write it. Most people start there and they consider that part of their personal statement. Typically, it is 1 or 2 sentences that kind of sums up your abilities, right? And you see that in your resume. Sometimes people pare it down a little bit and make it into like a tagline, and they use it for their LinkedIn account or their social media platforms. Like if you wanted to say, skilled electrical professional that focuses on quality and innovation, right? That becomes your tagline, because throughout your career, you're known for taking on these complex projects, and you're known for working with new technology or whatever it is, right? But just showcasing how you start with that summary, something that we all have, because you all are going to have that resume, which is one of the reasons why we wanted you to do it, so that you will have this profile, if you will. How many people actually have a profile on their resume, or qualifications, or summary, however you guys frame it? Does everyone have one? Or give me a thumbs up if you have one on your resume. For those of us that have our resume, right? You got it? Okay. Right. And you probably don't pay that much attention to it, right? Well, trust me, you're going to be paying attention. We're about to dissect that baby, right? And you can keep, rewriting it as much as you want. But you take that and you try to really think through, okay, what is my tagline? What is the slogan? I mean, not that we want you to go make t-shirts out of it, but you really just need to start thinking through, like, what am I saying about myself, right? So when you do create a statement, let's say you don't have your resume yet, or maybe you're working with career services, how do you even create that? Well, typically you start with your reputation. What have I done? What is my experience? What type of hard and soft skills? There we go again with that, right? Do I currently possess, right? Now let me create these short descriptive phrases about myself and create this, succinct sentence or statement that I want to use, whether I use that one tagline, on my LinkedIn profile, or I, use it on any other platform, or I'm using it on my resume. And then again, how do you use it? Resume, LinkedIn, cover letter, wherever else you may have a portfolio. And then one thing too that I want to say, make sure it's consistent, right? And I am guilty as charged, because we've already talked about having to change your resume over and over and over again, and you have to write a new cover letter. But how many of us think about making sure that our platforms are updated, right? So you also have to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated. I had to do that when I switched over, being someone that has worked, I initially worked in finance, and then I worked in nonprofit. Well, I kind of work nonprofit finance and regular finance, and then nonprofit development and education, and now with IT. And so I'm always having to be like, oh my goodness, how do you promote yourself? Like, so can you imagine, I almost thought about having two separate LinkedIn pages or maybe even three, because it depends on the type of work that I'm going after, right? So I get sometimes even, confused with how do I promote all of this, right? In a succinct way. But you want to find a way to do that, right? Because you want to use it, but you want to make sure all those things are consistent so no one gets confused. So you may see some personal brand statements. They have them in chapter 3, a creative problem solver who can combine mathematical skills and science expertise. Now be mindful, these are statements. So this is not your pitch that we're going to talk about in a minute. We're talking about how do you get to that pitch. You start with this statement, right? So a statement is something that is written, whether it's written on your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, right? A writer who's able to blend communication and critical thinking skills, a driven team player who uses leadership to motivate others, right? How do you want to be seen? These are what these statements look like. If it's on a resume, typically is a little bit longer. Again, these are perfect if you put in these one sentences on a LinkedIn profile, or if you're having an opener on your cover letter, right? So then how do I then convert that to when I'm meeting someone? So think about it. You're at a conference and you have your business cards. Maybe your company sent you to this conference and you're also there to network, right? How do you don't go up to someone and say, hi, my name is Cynthia. I'm a creative problem solver who can combine mathematical skills and science expertise. They can be like, what? Like, you may be at the wrong conference, lady. The cuckoo conference is down the hall, right? That's weird. Nobody just comes up to someone and says that, right? So how do you then promote yourself but being consistent using terminology that you have on your LinkedIn and your resume? What you do is you create what we call a personal commercial. It is a rehearsed introduction that includes brief information about your background. It's like a snapshot, if you will. We used to call it an elevator pitch because back in the day, when you worked in corporate America and you wanted that job, you wanted that promotion, most times the only time you saw the hiring manager or the CEO is when you were on the elevator. So that is where people got really good at introducing themselves really quick. Hi, Sarah. My name is Bob. I work in the such and such department. I see you guys have a new position opening. I really love to talk to you about it, right? They had to be really quick, like 30 seconds, because people don't know you. If you work at this big corporation, not everybody knows everybody. So they had to get really quick, comfortable, and quick about introducing themselves in an elevator. So it's called an elevator pitch, but you don't have to be in an elevator. You can be in an airport line. You could be at a grocery store. You could be at a conference. You could be, anywhere. You bump into someone and for whatever reason, you want to introduce yourself and you only have a few seconds or minutes to do it. But even if it's not in an elevator, think about it. When you're walking up to a stranger, let's pretend a stranger is walking up to you. They have less than 10 seconds to say what they want before you're already suspicious. Is that not the case? I don't care if you are at a conference. If some strange person walks up to you, you're thinking, what do you want? So because that person is thinking, I don't know you, what do you want? You have to get it out quick. You have to do what? Make them aware of what it is you want. So even in a situation where it's not an elevator, you got a few seconds to make a first impression. And it normally starts with introducing yourself by telling them who you are, your name, followed right up with your qualifications. Hi, my name is Cynthia. I've been teaching in the business and IT department for the past 30 years. Boom. Right away, what have I done? That person is able to say, okay, this person introduced herself to me. She's no longer a stranger. And she's at least told me what is she's about, who she is and what she's about. So now the person can say, oh, okay, now I can anticipate what's coming, whether it's maybe it's a job, or maybe she's trying to sell me something, or whatever it is. Now they're going to wait for what? What is it that you want? Why are you talking to me? Right? So most times that quick commercial has to do with introducing yourself, qualifying yourself, and telling the person what you want. Hi, my name is Cynthia. I have 30 years experience teaching in business and education. I saw your company just advertise for a new faculty position. I told them what I wanted. Now, I always say, close it out. Do you mind if I give you my card? Do you know someone that I can talk to? Or I would love to ask a follow-up question because I noticed that your name was on the advertisement. Maybe I just saw this person at an airport, but they had their school jacket on and his name was on the front. That's why I walked up to him. Stranger danger. I've introduced myself, qualified myself, and I told the person what I want. So when you are doing these commercials, you have to get comfortable. Not many of us are comfortable walking around talking about ourselves. Hi, my name is Cynthia. Da, 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 da. How do I do that in a quick way? 60, 30 seconds introduction. And then what happens after that? Now, this is where your personality comes in. That you got to pick up the vibes. Is that person open to discussing more? If you're at a conference, they'd be like, hey, yeah, let's, I was just about to grab some coffee. Let's go have a chat. If it's in the elevator, they'd be like, yeah, give me your card. Thank you very much. Or you need to call Susie. She's at the front desk. She'll tell you what to do. It doesn't matter. You've gotten what you needed from the process. But this is the most important when you're out and you're networking, even if you're networking on the internet, which we talk about a lot in chapter 3. It should discuss that about connecting on LinkedIn. How do you reach out to strangers? People reach out to you and strangers. Now, maybe some of y'all have DM'd some people on a social level, but guess what? People DM a lot on a professional level. How do you do that without being weird, even on a platform? Introduce yourself, qualify yourself, tell a person what you want. You will be surprised how much connection you can get, how many leads you can get, job referrals you can get just doing that. Why is it also important to keep it short? Do not send people dissertations. When you're talking to someone, do not talk with the long dissertation. You're going to weird people out. They're not going to know what you want. They're going to lose train of thought. You don't know how long a person has, right? Has anybody ever had someone come up to them or talk to them and they're going on and on and on, and you're trying to find an exit, or maybe it's awkward? Is it not awkward when a person doesn't know how to get to the point? It's very awkward, right? Because you're standing there trying to figure out, ma'am, sir, what you want, right? Tell me what you want so I'll know what to do. I'll know if I have time for this or I don't. So you have to be respectful of a person's time, but you have to promote yourself. That's part of being, that's it, right? You have to promote yourself. And hey, that's the name of the game. A closed mouth does not get fed. I'm telling you right now, a closed mouth does not get fed. You cannot assume anything about anybody. We are all, this world is big on assumptions. People live their lives on a lot of assumptions that are, half of them are not reality. You never know. You never know. But guess what? Whether you like it or not, you're a business. You're an entity. Even if you are the only employee that you have. Huh? And you have to sell yourself. You cannot, this is not, oh, I'm going to go work for some company and then I'm just going to leave it up to them. That's not how it works, right? You are a professional now. You've gone to school. You get the certification. You got the purple star. It's time for you to get out there and sell yourself, right? Welcome to corporate America. So how do you develop this commercial about yourself? Well, one of the reasons, again, we wanted you to do that resume so you can have some type of statement. You should already have a statement that you can work with. How do you turn that into a commercial? Well, you got to pare down that statement. Like I said, maybe your statement is, if it's on your resume, it's about 3 sentences long, right? You need to pare that down a bit. And you can put that pared down statement on your resume, on your LinkedIn, LinkedIn profile, but you also want to try to create this commercial. So what am I going to pull out about myself? Well, Miss Taylor already told me the first sentence is going to be saying who I am. So that's an easy one. You can write that down now. Hi, my name is. Done. What's that middle piece? That middle piece is the hardest piece. How do I summarize myself? What is it that I want to say? And let me first say this. It's going to change based upon who you're talking to and what you're talking about, right? But you need to say something. If you're new in the industry, maybe it's, hi, my name is Todd. You know, I've been in customer service for the past 15 years. I recently transitioned into the electrical field. Now, I recently graduated. Whatever it is you want to say, and then get to the point. So that middle sentence is always the hardest because people are always trying to figure out how much of myself do I want to showcase, right? And it really just depends on how much time you have. But I say, don't ever make it more than 2 sentences long. In the book, you'll see it kind of going on and on and on. I don't think it's necessary unless you got that kind of time. So here on the screen, it gives you an example. If you take in like your personal brand statement that you could pull off of that, let's say if you had it on LinkedIn, or if your personal brand statement was a little bit longer because you got it from your resume, how do you turn that into a commercial? Well, you can see on the right-hand side, you're always going to start with your first name or first and last name. You know, hi, my name is, I am whomever. And then go into, in the book, it kind of gives you, okay, if I have a current job, you know, for you guys, unless you're currently working in your field, it may not be necessary to talk about your current job. For me, you know, I may say, hi, my name is Cynthia Taylor. I currently work at Southern Tech. I've been teaching for the past 25 years, right? So I could say something like that, right? That's how I would round that out. Here, an example, they're talking in that first example, I am located in the greater Houston area. Maybe that may be relevant. Maybe if the person's looking for a job and they notice that the position was in greater Houston, good. Or maybe if the person is saying, I'm in the greater Houston area, but maybe I'm looking for something in that area, that may be relevant. Why am I saying that? You don't always have to say where you're from. That just needs to be in there if it's relevant or not. The second example, hi, my name is Sam. I'm a physical therapist. How many years experience I have? He's talking about that. He talked a little bit about what he specialized in and what area he's in, blah, blah, blah. And then you see how it's keep going. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about that. I think it's a little long-winded because that's not so much how you introduce yourself, unless maybe you're speaking or unless maybe someone asks you the question, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. Then going 4 sentences on and on about yourself makes sense, but it really depends on, you know, the environment. The reason why I say that, and I hope I'm not confusing you guys, is that, yes, introducing yourself in an elevator pitch, short, quick. Maybe if you're introducing yourself because you're at a conference and you're going around the table and you're saying, tell me a little bit about yourself. Then this little commercial, this longer winded commercial would be okay. Does that make sense? Hopefully I'm not confusing you. Does that make sense, guys? Or is it, Ms. Taylor, you're rambling a little bit? Okay, I can't see your faces, so I always get a little nervous. Okay, that makes sense, right? Okay, so if it's quick and short, elevator pitch. If it's more, I got time, I can talk a little bit more about myself. I'll be a little bit elongated, but still don't ramble. And if it's more of an elevator pitch, get to the point. Why am I talking to you? If it's more of a, I'm at a conference and I just need to introduce myself to the table, then obviously you don't have to say you want something. Make sense? All right. Because the book kind of talks about both and I don't want to confuse anyone. All right. At the end of the day, unless you've been doing this for a long time, most of us don't just have elevator pitches in our head. I don't know. I think some of the people do. Like, I'm old school, so forgive me for saying this, but I feel like guys have it better because y'all are always the ones that's having to do the approaching. So if am I wrong for saying men probably have more experience? than women. I, in a social scene, right? Y'all are used to it. This is nothing, right? But most of us don't have, we don't go around with elevator pitches in our head. So you got to practice. Practice makes perfect. Now I can go and I can introduce myself without even thinking about it because I've been doing it for so long, right? I've been doing my career for so long. I've been introducing myself for so long. Of course, I can do it with my eyes closed, but that takes time, right? That takes time to even feel the room and know what you're supposed to say and which type of environment. So you have to practice. And that's why we want you guys to practice today. So what will you be doing today? You're going to be creating this elevator pitch. It's in your assignment. Read chapter 3 first to get yourself a little bit comfortable with it. And I'm going to ask if you're going to be talking to yourself. Don't freak out about it. You're going to be talking to yourself, but before you do the elevator pitch, now this is going to be important to do your participation question because it's like a 1-2 punch. I first want you to create the brand statement, right? So you can get comfortable. Now, guess what, guys? If you already have your resume, hint, hint, you kind of already have a statement, right? And you can pare that down if you want to, but you kind of already have one, right? Don't copy and paste that whole profile. Okay, don't do me like that. But make it quick. Put that personal brand statement as your participation question. Easy, right? But for your assignment, I want you to create this pitch. So all you got to do with the pitch, once you create that one statement, you're going to add your name at the top, that one statement, and just give me a fake little, why am I talking to you? I heard you guys had a position in electrical at, ABC 123 company. Can I give you my resume? Right? But I want to see you do it so you can actually videotape yourself on the assignment. You know how you can hit file, upload, text entry. You can do video and it videos you right there and you can do it really, really quick. 10 seconds, guys, 20 seconds. Don't be scared. And do it. And I want to see how it looks, right? Now, if you're super duper scared, there's another option I think I may have given you, but I want to see you guys do it. Practice makes perfect. This is class. This is school. So there's no sense. There's no perfect. All right. Any questions on that? So for your participation assignment, give me a personal brand statement. So now you'll have your profile on your resume. You got that one statement that you're going to throw on LinkedIn because you will be doing it for LinkedIn. Hint, hint. That's what I want you to do it. And then you're going to create your commercial. Sounds good? All right, my friends, that is all I have for you today. I'm to get you guys in and out. Go get her done. Y'all, I need 100% attendance. Now, give me 100% participation attendance. Thank you. ATA, don't let me down. All right, y'all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay? Have a good day.